This is the second part of the book, The Silent Master, Meher Baba. I'm going to read what it says. Part 2. This second part of the book was not sent to Meher Baba, as was the first part. This was compiled by me in 2023. I did it because there was so much more of Meher Baba's life that was not in the original book I sent to him. Now I'm adding that, so all you dear readers can see these highlights too. Meher Baba's life was so unique that it is literally true what he said at the end of his new life. But I say it is also true of his entire life. He said, "This new life will live by itself eternally, even if there is no one to live it." The perfect boy. Baba's continuous search for the ideal or perfect boy began in the Prem Ashram in 1927 and lasted until 1958. Over the course of these years, many boys were brought to him and returned. One of them was very drawn to Baba. One day the lad asked Vishnu, "Where is he?" "Who?" asked Vishnu. "That long-haired dumb gentleman." Chuckling, Vishnu said, "He is occupied at present." "I wish to stay with him always," said the boy. "Why?" Vishnu asked. "He is so very kind. I have never seen such a man. I feel like gazing at him forever." In one dilapidated hut, Eric saw a handsome teenage boy lying down. Remembering Baba's constant desire to find an ideal boy, he described the youth to Baba and requested him to at least go to the hut and have a look at this unusual boy. Baba agreed and went to the boy's hut. He gestured to Eric, "First go and ask him what he is doing here." "I am only 14, but I have always had a great longing for God's darshan. So I left everything. I have come here to meditate and see what can be learned." "Do you have a guru?" asked Eric. "No, I don't. They all talk too much. I want a guru who doesn't talk." Eric said, "I know a guru who has not spoken for 17 years. His name is Meher Baba." The boy replied, "I have heard of Shri Meher Baba, but Meher Baba is too great to accept me as his disciple." Touched by his words, Eric took the boy to Baba. Upon seeing Baba, the boy was overcome with happiness. Baba spelled out to him, "I will be your guru. This is the first and last time that we will meet. You will never see me again physically. However, if you want me to accept you as my disciple, you must carry out 4 orders. If you agree to obey, then one day you will find me in your heart." Baba gave him these 4 orders. Number 1, you should be free from lust, and until your dying day, you should never touch a woman. Number 2, instead, you should only think continuously of realizing God. Number 3, you must never touch money, and you must beg for your food. Number 4. As a mantra from me, you must keep repeating night and day God's name, whichever name you wish. Without the least hesitation, the boy accepted the 4 orders and thus obtained the guru of his heart's desire. What Meher Baba gave for one to do was for him and not for everyone else. This is the Manzili Mim. Meher Baba trains his first disciples. This group of close followers included men of all ages, both well-educated and illiterate, artists, professionals, and students, all belonging to almost every caste and creed. They had rich and influential backgrounds as well as poor and unknown antecedents. They appreciated all viewpoints, but had only one point of view in everything they did, and that was following faithfully and implicitly the one master amongst them called Meher Baba, the compassionate father. Baba's relationship with the Mandali had been one of close friendship. In Baba's camaraderie, they were inspired to shed their various individual differences, prejudices, and irrespective likes and dislikes for the general benefit and welfare of all during this phase of their discipleship. Those who acknowledged him to be their master or guru were unaware of the significance and necessity of absolute obedience to his orders. In Manzili Mim, this relationship completely changed. The Mandali were made aware that Meher Baba was their Lord and Master, thereby establishing the relationship that exists between any spiritually perfect master and his disciples. In different ways, the Mandali learned the paramount importance of obeying Baba's instructions. He would constantly impress upon them how important it was to obey his every command, no matter how insignificant it might appear. In matters of spirituality, too, Meher Baba had imparted much esoteric wisdom through numerous discourses. Baba stated that some noise in the manzil was keeping him awake at night. Baba explained that it was a ghost. This spirit is always with me wherever I go. He is one of the ghosts whom Arjun saw outside my hut in Pune. Upasni Maharaj has put him in my charge. Some of you may see this spirit. If it happens, don't be afraid of him. And don't be afraid to move about the manzil at night. Once Ghani was massaging Baba's legs at night. Baba further explained about ghosts and why he had his body rubbed. The physical contact of a human being with my body keeps the spirit world away from me for the time being, and thereby enables me to snatch a little rest. My sleep is not the sleep of ordinary human beings. It is a sort of mental rest from my spiritual working. A spirit always accompanies me wherever I go, in whatever I do. While at the manzil, Ramju, one of the disciples, had once asked Baba what the stars were. Baba said, "These are also circles, like planets, and some of the planets are inhabited by people. They resemble this earth, but spiritually this circle, the earth, is the most advanced. Involution begins only on this planet Earth. And so on this earth, Sadgurus, perfect masters, are born. These circles appear to be at greater distance from each other, but are really very close to one another. After realization, man beholds all of them, millions over millions, like small bubbles issuing forth from his own self. He experiences himself bigger than everything and every being. Nay, he finds he is the main source, the maker of all. Meher Baba emphasized and showed that spirituality was not just discourses, devotional music, or darshans. At certain times, the Master would express perfect humility. He would gather beggars or the poor from the streets, then feed and clothe them. Twice a week, like a lowly sweeper, Baba would clean the choked gutters of sewage flowing from the house and toilet. Except for Gustaji, all were forbidden to undertake this work with Baba. But later, some of the others were allowed to help. The Master bathed many of the more than 200 poor people who were gathered and personally served each of them food. He gave each man or woman clothes and even garlanded 3 of them. Then he lovingly sent them away. Rustam took the legless man back in the cart. There was a great change in him, for the man was now wearing new clothes and a garland around his neck. Out of millions of souls, only one becomes perfect. The perfect man can bestow divine consciousness upon anyone in the twinkling of an eye. He bestows it at the right moment upon those who have an age-old connection with him. To clarify this, suppose a man has suddenly come into wealth. After becoming rich, however generous he may be, he will not distribute his riches to every poor person in the world. He will give it to the selected few who are closely connected with him. Suppose that this wealthy man is driving in his car and passes a pauper lying beside the road. He will either leave him there or stop and hand him some money. But if he comes across a poor man and discovers him to be his long-lost brother, how will he react then? He will stop the car, and without the poor man's asking, he will take him in his car to his house and keep him there in luxurious comfort. The same is true in the spiritual path. To acquire the gift of divine knowledge, a person must have a close connection with a perfect master. It was because of this spiritual relationship between myself and Babajan that she, without my asking, striving, or longing for it, bestowed on me the experience of God I now have. Meher Baba's Prem Ashram in 1927 to 1929. Some time ago, I had implanted a spark of love in the hearts of some of the boys, as well in a few amongst the elder disciples, which makes you see this surprising result these days. With a mere touch or a look, saints can give indescribable thrills and novel experiences to anyone they like. But these last for a certain period. Such thrills and experiences are a sort of stimulant to aspirants and have no permanent results. But Q-tubs and Sadgurus seldom do that. This is not a temporary gift of that kind. Bodies may come and go, but this spark will never die. It will burst out into a great divine flame one day. Then I ventured to ask, why have you been often advising and insisting upon the boys to create love for you and think of you as much as they can? And where is the need of individual efforts since you have implanted the spark? This spark, replied the master through his usual gestures and alphabet pointing, requires personal efforts for its complete manifestation. The more one would think of and try to love me, the sooner and greater would be the outburst. Through this spark, there is a chance of one actually realizing God, let alone getting advanced in the spiritual planes. Students come from many countries. Free education, books, food, lodging, and uniforms were provided. The classes in the school were being conducted regularly, with exams given periodically. Baba himself would keep a watchful eye on the teachers' lessons. Besides the standard school education, the boys were given the master's special education, which included divine experiences to advance them through the higher planes to God realization. After the outburst of emotion on the part of the Prem Ashram boys, the previous January, Baba would discourse to them on various spiritual subjects, trying to improve their conduct and character by pointing out their smallest mistakes. After dinner, Baba gathered the boys and explained to them, "If you commit mistakes, I will forgive them, not once, but 1,000,000 times. But do your best to do as I say. If you obey, I will see to your progress." Dathu's younger brother, Pandit, wept profusely, pleading his usual case. "Give me one last chance. You are God and I am but a little boy. Why be so harsh with me?" He was therefore included amongst those remaining in the Prem Ashram. Baba explained, "When I observe a fast, it amounts to all the people in the world having observed it, since it is no one but I in everyone." Baba then got on Daki's shoulders and crossed the river. On the opposite bank, Baba remarked, "You have brought me across the river today. I am pleased with your efforts, and one day I will help you cross the river of eternal existence. I know I will have to suffer much more than Christ, and still I say that I am God. Look at the mentality of educated people. What do they say? It is all humbug. Can man ever be God? But I will continue to say, whatever I am, I am." One of the boys, named Damu, had been ill for almost 3 weeks with a persistent high fever. Baba called the boy and took him on his lap, saying, "Tell your fever to go to Baba. Don't worry, I am always near you, with you, and in you." When not explaining spiritual matters or giving them a discourse, Baba would play cricket, hatya, and ping pong with the boys. In the games of cricket, Baba would be the captain of one team and Rustam of the other, and every day a match was played. Now, this is the Messiah interview by the newspaper. James Douglas, 64 years old, a well-known writer and editor of the London Sunday Express, prepared a lengthy questionnaire containing many trick questions meant to test Baba. He thought it would be much better to approach Meher Baba without prior notice, to catch him off guard and unable to prepare answers to my questions. I will expose him to the public so that they may not be entrapped and will be cautious of so-called Indian mystics. Douglas said, I only want to see him for a minute. Baba was informed. Surprisingly, he consented to see him, but something overcame Douglas. He seemed startled. He later related that it was as if an electric shock had penetrated his body. He was sweating and frequently wiped his brow. Chanji invited him inside again. Douglas tried to speak, but his lips only quivered slightly. He finally managed to ask, "What is happening to me? Can you tell me?" Baba waved Douglas to a chair and said with a smile, "Don't be afraid. Come nearer, sit down." Douglas blurted out, "I feel a tremendous power here. Would you please tell me what is happening to me? From where is this power emanating and flowing?" "I will explain everything to you. But first let me know why you have come." "I have come to have a long talk with you. But what is happening to me?" "Don't be afraid," Baba spelled out to him. "Whatever you have to ask, you may do so without fear." Douglas felt comforted at these loving words from Baba and sat down. Then after a few moments to settle himself, the interview began. Douglas asked Baba, "Your birth name, please?" "Marwan Sharia Irani." Douglas tells Chanji, "Please don't read the board. Let me read it. I want to know exactly what Baba has to say." "Gladly," Chanji said. Douglas tried to read the alphabet board. Baba moved his fingers slowly and pointed to each letter, spelling out M.S. Irani. "There is some confusion," said Douglas. "Let me try again," he said. Baba again repeated his name on the board. But the man could not read it. He stood up and moved behind Baba to try again, but he could not. Douglas said to Baba, "Please spell out some other sentence and let me read it." Baba spelled, "My name is," except for "my," the man's mind further failed to make anything out. Chanji repeated from a distance, "My name is." "How could you read his board from such a distance?" Douglas asked. "I have practice," Chanji answered. Douglas went and stood over by Chanji and again tried to read the alphabet board, but again failed. Baba now indicated to him, "Now come to the point without wasting any more time on reading the board. There is only a little time left." Douglas asked, "Which religion is the highest today?" I consider all religions equal, as they are all different paths to realize the one God. What's your opinion about the Christian religion? Christ was a great soul who had realized God, so the religion derived from him, such a divine being, must be great. What religion do you believe in? I am beyond caste and religion. All religions belong to me, but I have no special relationship with any caste, community, or religion. I am one with God, and God is in everyone and everything. Are you a Mahatma? I know the truth. I have experience of the truth. As you know and have experience of the city of London from being a resident of it over many years, so also one who has not seen London but wants to know it will have to do so indirectly through a medium. But you live in London and have experience of it. You know it well. For that you do not have to resort to any outside means or medium. Do you follow me? Very well. But do you know Gandhi? Yes, we met on board the ship. Are you interested in politics? I do not concern myself with any ethics or science, and so also not with politics, either because in self-knowledge everything is included. He who has gained self-knowledge has gained everything. What do you think of Gandhi? He is a good soul and a profound student of the Gita, an aspirant for self-knowledge. Are you a divine being? I am merged in God in the way in which Buddha, Christ, and Krishna were merged in and have become one with God. In the same way, I live in God. As they knew God, I have known him. You yourself and others can know God in the same way and become one with him. Douglas again wiped his face. His questions were being answered so quickly, and the answers were so concise and sharp-witted, he was stunned. After a while, Douglas continued, "Is there evil in the world?" "No, there is nothing like evil," Baba spelled out. Douglas was momentarily astounded and asked, "What do you mean?" "There is nothing else except bliss everywhere." Douglas excitedly rose to his feet and began asking questions. How could that be? In reality, that is the case, Baba assured him. Regaining his composure, Douglas sat down and took out another questionnaire. Then how do you explain the 1,001 evils in the world, such as theft, murder, rape, treachery, dishonesty, immorality, torture? Can these wickednesses not be considered as evils? Not necessarily. Then what do you call them? What are these to be considered? They are more or less a degree of good itself. Douglas was struck by this idea and put his hand on his forehead. He had gotten up again and slowly sat down and said, "Oh God, how wonderful! Why wouldn't the poets and metaphysicians have explained it in such a straightforward and intelligible manner?" He sat thinking for a while. Baba added, "As I have said, there is nothing but bliss in the world. What the world calls evil is an extremely lower aspect of good." Of course, Douglas declared. "How easy! Why people cannot understand such a simple thing is surprising. Could you straighten us to when the world will understand this simple truth?" when its angle of vision has changed. But when, Douglas asked. It is going on internally, Baba spelled out. Thank God. What do you say about the delicate and dangerous situation the world is facing? The world's financial condition today is such that countries are ready to strangle one another. Restlessness is everywhere. When will this calamitous period end? And when will this situation improve? Not until there is a change of heart. A change of heart? What a sovereign remedy! But when will the heart change? It will start after about a year. Christ took 3 years to complete his work. How long will it be for you to complete your work? 33 years. What is your secret message or special advice? The elimination of the ego. Amazed, James went out to consult with his friend Sir Denison Ross, who had accompanied him and was downstairs. Returning, he said he had not yet begun to ask the questions he had really meant to ask, but before that he again asked, what is this mysterious power in this room, and from where is it emanating? First, finish your questions, Baba said. I will answer your query at the end. May I ask you another question? Very willingly. You want to bring about the salvation of the world. Is there any Bible, Quran, or any book for which Baba interrupted? I give counsel and people take me for a master. But I do not attach any importance to book knowledge or to learning, because I awaken the divinity hidden with each one. Do you believe in Buddha and his 8 principles? And in that, again before he could finish, Baba replied, yes, any religion is a step on the path of one's progress towards self-knowledge. You want to ask about Christ and Krishna, and the answer is the same. This made Douglas stand up in surprise, and he gazed at Baba. Baba motioned to him to take a seat and to continue with his questions. Which God do you believe in? Of the Christian, or, Baba says, God is only one for all. Which religion is closest to your accepted religion? That is, which religion is worthy of being accepted? All religions are of God, and therefore all are one. Is there a future life after this, Douglas then asked. Baba spelled out, yes, but only for the soul inhabiting the body. The soul never dies. It goes on taking one body after another, birth after birth. Unless it becomes one with God, it goes on taking rebirth. From where did you acquire this knowledge? Before a question entered my mind, you know it. All this I can understand quite easily. You did not answer my first question. How do you understand and know all this? Baba smiled. Because I am one with eternal existence. What is your mission? Douglas asked. To bring about a spiritual regeneration of mankind, of all, the East and the West. Baba spelled out, have you the confidence to do that, especially in the West? With as much confidence as that which you possess in thinking you are now talking to me, and believing you are doing so in truth. With this objective, the spiritual regeneration of mankind, I have taken this birth. This is for the purpose of my taking human form. Who has appointed you to be the benefactor of mankind? Who has sent you? I know. and it is my life. Douglas was confused and found Baba's words incredible. Baba soothed him by lovingly stroking his back. Then he took the man's hand in his own, and their eyes met. Both were quiet for a moment. Looking at him, Baba smiled. Then Douglas exclaimed, "Are you always like this, in bliss?" "I enjoy eternal bliss. It is my constant life and existence." "Why do I not enjoy that bliss?" "Because in this illusion, you are not free of your ego, and so cannot enjoy such bliss. For this reason, due to ignorance, the world is miserable. In truth, nothing exists on all four sides except bliss." "Who is God? What is He? Is He a person or a power?" "God is both in form and without form. He resides in every being and pervades everything, in art, literature, in beauty." Hearing this, Douglas was about to ask Baba something, but Baba prevented him, indicating that he should first listen to what Baba wanted to say. Continuing, Baba spelled out, "From all this, you should not take it that I am a pantheist. This is not my opinion. In reality, I know everything. Through experience, you will understand all this when you know God. The highest experience is to know oneself. It is the supreme experience. It means to be one with God." Douglas then asked, "Are you married?" Baba spelled out, "I am beyond sex. There is no difference for me between a male and a female." "How many hours do you sleep at night?" 3. "What are your plans after this?" "I will proceed to America after a short stay at the Devonshire ashram." "Would you now answer my first question and put an end to my anxiety?" Smiling, Baba gestured to Chanji to tell Douglas, "You are very lucky." "It is your kindness." Douglas rose to leave and again asked, "The answer to my first question, what is the reason for the power permeating this room?" "It is due to my presence." James Douglas took Baba's hand in his hand, then pressed it to his eyes, and Baba blessed him. I melted under its enchantment in spite of my caution. He later wrote, his heart was full of Baba's love, and after a respectful bow, he left. His 1-minute meeting had stretched to a full hour. The next day, James Douglas published the entire interview on the front page of the London Sunday Express. It had a great impact on many readers, and numerous people found out about Meher Baba from it. This is a note. Meher Baba was reported as the Messiah by many newspapers. And now I begin the new life. Meher Baba bowing down at the feet of the poor. On November 24th in 1949, before going out for begging in Benares, Baba asked his companions to come before him after washing their feet. He then touched the feet of his companions with his forehead. Baba then had the following prayer read. I ask the most merciful God to forgive me and my companions for any shortcomings and any conscious or unconscious mistakes done, singly or wholly, towards each other, personally or impersonally, and also for any lusty, angry, greedy, or old life thoughts or desires. I forgive you, my companions, and ask you all to forgive me. I ask God to forgive us all, not merely by way of ceremony, but as a wholehearted pardon. Meher Baba and companion with his begging bowl. This new life is endless. And even after my physical death, it will be kept alive by those who live the life of complete renunciation of falsehoods, lies, hatred, anger, greed, and lust, and who, to accomplish all this, do no lustful actions, do no harm to anyone, do no backbiting, do not seek material possessions or power, who accept no homage, neither covet honor nor shun disgrace, and fear no one and nothing. By those who rely wholly and solely on God, and who love God purely for the sake of loving, and yet do not expect any spiritual or material reward, who do not let go the hand of truth, and who do, without being upset by calamities, bravely and wholeheartedly facing all hardships with 100% cheerfulness, give no importance to caste, creed, or religious ceremonies. This new life will live by itself eternally, even if there is no one to live it. Dr. Ghani, who composed the Song of the New Life with the help of Avatar Meher Baba. This is the Song of the New Life of Meher Baba and his companions. Listen to the silent words of Meher Baba. The life story of all lovers of God is based on the practice of these words. If you are serious about living this new life, then wholeheartedly renounce this ephemeral existence. We have taken to this life in which we rely only on God. In this, our will to do or die is strengthened by the oath taken. We are merrily singing the song of hopelessness. We are inviting all calamities and difficulties. We neither wail over lost hopes nor complain about broken promises. We neither covet honor nor shun disgrace. Backbiting we know not, nor do we fear anyone. This is now the color of our new life. No confusion in the mind now, nor any ties left. Pride, anger, lust, and greed we know not. We have no religion nor care for physical and mental fads. The Sheikh and the Brahmin, typifying all castes and creeds, are now sailing in the same boat. There is no small or great now for us all. The question of disciple, master, or godhood no longer arise. Brotherliness or fellow feeling is the link that exists, and this contributes to our present enjoyment of suffering. This world or the next, hell or heaven, we no longer bother about. Shaktis and siddhis, occultism and miracles we no longer think of. All these false impressions, thoughts for us, have been purged from the mind. What has value and importance for us now is to live in the active present. Dear ones, take seriously the words of Baba when he says, although now I am on the same level with you all, yet all orders from me, good, bad, extraordinary, you should all carry out immediately, leaving the result to God. Even if the heavens fall, do not let go the hand of truth. Let despair and disappointment ravage and destroy the garden of your life. You beautify it once again by the seedlings of contentment and self-sufficiency. Even if your heart is torn to bits, let there be a smile on your lips. Here I divulge to you a point worth noting. Hidden in your penniless hands is a treasure untold. Your beggarly life will be the envy of kings. God exists indeed, and true are the prophets. Every cycle has an avatar, and every moment has a wali, or a saint. For us, however, it is only hopelessness and helplessness. How else should I tell you what our new life is? Everything I possess, including ashram, buildings, fields, houses, and all furniture, cars, power plants, cattle, chattels, and in fact everything that belongs to me is to be disposed of. Nothing is to remain as my property and in my name, except the Mehera hill premises, on which the tomb for my bodily remains has been built. Baba would sweep his own hut, clean his own utensils, and wash his own clothes. The entire party ate only one meal a day. In March 1950, Baba, with 7 companions, went to Rishikesh, where he contacted sadhus, saints, and mahatmas in their huts and caves. It was really a very healthy and pleasant life, devoid of any hardship in spite of our being in the midst of difficulties. Eretz Jesawala, one of the companions and a close disciple, explained, his very presence was such that we never felt deprived. This is now Mononash, the annihilation of the mind. Mononash results in this glorious state in which plurality goes and unity comes. Ignorance goes and knowledge comes. Binding goes and freedom comes. We are all in this shoreless ocean of infinite knowledge, and yet are ignorant of it. Until the mind, which is the source of ignorance, vanishes forever. For ignorance ceases to exist when the mind ceases to exist. God is everywhere and does everything. God is within us and knows everything. God is without us and sees everything. God is beyond us and is everything. The one, all-pervading, all-comprehending, all-powerful God, who is the self of ourselves, and besides whom nothing is real, has helped me and guided me during the Mononash period of my work, and now makes me dictate to you the following. To try to understand with the mind that which the mind can never understand, is futile. And to try to express by sounds of language, in the form of words, the transcendent state of the soul is even more futile. All that can be said and has been said and will be said by those who live and experience that state is that when the false self is lost, the real self is found. That the birth of the real can only follow the death of the false. This means that when the mind with its satellites, desires, cravings, longings is completely consumed by the fire of divine love, then the infinite, indestructible, indivisible, eternal self is manifested. Ignorance will cease when the mind ceases to exist. This is Mononash. For these last 4 months, according to ordinary human standards, and by ways and means known to me, I have tried my utmost for the achievement of Mononash. And I can say in all truth that I feel satisfied with the work done. It is as an ordinary man that I have tried to explain the Mononash as achieved by an ordinary man. One may interpret my words as one likes. It is equally possible for one interpretation or another to prove to be correct. Mononash is real bliss for the mind. Mind is uprooted, and then its death occurs, and the ego immediately feels, I am everything. This is the prayer in November 1951, which Meher Baba dictated. It's the prayer for the road during the Mononash wandering. O Parvardigar, O ocean of infinite mercy, Baba, with great humility, implores you to bestow upon him courage and help him so that he will not retrace his steps during the Mononash phase. Forgive him for his trespasses due to weakness of his mind, and give him such courage that he will never tell a lie, never hurt the feeling of anyone, will not do any injustice to anybody, and that he will not harass his companions who are serving him faithfully and wholeheartedly, and bestow upon him such grace that while abiding by all the conditions and fulfilling them, he brings about the end of the endless new life. In 4 months, through the Mononash phase. In Kuldabad, on the 14th November, at the guest house, Baba washed the feet of the Muslim caretaker of Baki's tomb, bowed down to him and gave him 21 rupees as a love gift. Accompanied by the caretaker, Baba again went to the tomb, where he contacted 74 poor people, washed their feet, placed his head on their feet, and gave each person 10 rupees. Erich, Pendu, Bedul, and Gustaji prayed for Baba's success in his work. Throughout this journey, each man watched by Baba's side for 2 hours. In a crevice in the wall, Erich found a nesting bird. He told Baba, and Baba asked him to capture it and throw it out. Erich was about to do so when Baba clapped and gestured. To have instructed you to have the bird thrown out in the middle of the night was great cruelty, for which I repent. There is only one way to atone for this inhuman act, and that is for you men to spit on me and beat me with your chapels. Baba then removed his sadra. Accordingly, all spat on Baba and struck him on the kneecap with their sandals a few times each. The worst insult in India. Pinching his own ears in atonement, Baba observed, "This is a lesson to me for my cruelty. Henceforth, I will never be cruel. I have regained the knowledge, strength, and greatness that I had in the old life, and retained the ignorance, weakness, and humility of the new life. This union of the old and new life states has given birth to life, life that is eternally old and new. The complicated free life, where bindings dominate freedom. I have regained the knowledge, strength, and greatness that I had in the old life. I expect to lead a complicated free life from March 21st, 1952. A full free life from July 10th, and a fiery free life from November 15th. In my full free life, freedom will dominate binding. In my fiery free life, both freedom and binding will be merged into divine life. My message today to those who love me and believe in my life is that in order to escape this cosmic illusion and to realize and attain the supreme reality, we must abide by the following. First and foremost, our complete surrender to the God-man, in whom God reveals himself in his full glory, his infinite power, his unfathomable knowledge, his inexpressible bliss, and his eternal existence. Should this complete surrender not be possible, then one or some of the following, if faithfully carried out, can win the grace of God. Number 1, wholeheartedly love for God, thirst for seeing him, longing for knowing him, and a burning desire for union with him constitutes this all-consuming love, for which the lover forsakes everything, including himself. Number 2, keeping constant company of saints and lovers of God, and rendering them wholehearted service. Number 3, guarding of the mind against temptations of lust, greed, anger, hatred, power, fame, and fault-finding. Number 4, absolute and complete external renunciation, whereby one leaves everyone and everything, and in solitude devotes oneself to prayer, fasting, and meditation. Number 5, living in the world and yet practicing complete internal renunciation. This means attending to all worldly duties without attachment, knowing all to be an illusion and only God to be real, carrying out one's worldly affairs with a pure heart and clean mind, and living the life of a recluse in the midst of intense activity. Number 6, selfless service. One who practices this thinks not of himself, but of the happiness of others, serves others with no thought of gain or reward, never allows the mind to be upset or disappointed, and facing all odds and difficulties cheerfully sacrifices his welfare for the good of others. This is the free life, where bindings dominate freedom. In the first part of the free life, culminating on July 10th of 1952, it was in this first part that the personal disaster, for some years foretold by me, took place in the form of an automobile accident in America, causing me through facial injuries, a broken leg, and a broken arm, much mental and physical suffering. It was necessary that it should happen in America. God willed it so. Meher Baba recuperates in Pune after the accident in America in 1952. In the second part of this free life, freedom had dominated bindings. In the third part of the free life, commencing from November 15, 1952, both freedom and bindings are consumed in the fire of divine love, which destroys the very basis of the illusion of duality and all its paraphernalia. Now the fiery free life, where freedom and bindings are merged into divine life. He declared, the result of this fiery free life will make the world understand that Meher Baba and everyone is one with God. I am sending Erich with specific instructions all over India and Pakistan for 7 months to prepare men and the ground for my work of the fiery free life, which begins November 15th. Besides carrying out the special instructions given to him on the 21st of March 1952, Erich will have to abide by the following. Number 1, he has been given 2,000 rupees for expenses during these 7 months. Number 2, he should not accept cash, money, from anyone under any circumstances. Number 3, he can accept food and journey tickets only if gladly and willingly offered. Number 4, he should abstain from politics as we have been doing all our lives. Number 5, he should abstain from lustful actions, as I hope he has been doing all along. Number 6, he should not feel flattered by praise, nor should he be disheartened by ridicule and abuse. Number 7, bravely and lovingly facing all difficulties, he should faithfully carry out the work in the name of God. Number 8, he should strictly abide by the rules of the governments of both India and Pakistan. Baba spoke about the fiery free life. One who is real is the ocean of bliss. Illusion or zero is the ocean of misery. It is the agony of all and makes everyone suffer by harassing them. In this fiery life, by the grace of God, this zero life is to be set on fire and burned. The fiery free life is not a thing to be understood. It is a thing to be witnessed. The fiery free life means that there is a complete blending of the God state and the man state, so that the one does not live through opposition to the other. And now, the new humanity. The new humanity is hidden to those who look only at the surface of the world situation. The forces of lust, hate, and greed produce incalculable suffering and chaos. However, the one redeeming feature about human nature is that even in the midst of disruptive forces, there invariably exists some form of love. It is through divine love that the new humanity will tune in to the divine plan. Divine love will not only introduce imperishable sweetness and infinite bliss into personal life, but it will also make possible an era of new humanity. Through divine love, the new humanity will learn the art of cooperative and harmonious life. It will free itself from the tyranny of dead forms and release the creative life of spiritual wisdom. It will shed all illusions and get established in the truth. It will enjoy peace and abiding happiness. It will be initiated in the life of eternity. Meher Baba. And now Meher Baba's travels. On board the ship that he came here in 1937. How good my Mandali are. They are with me for years, without any hope of reward. They try their best to carry out my orders and must undergo severe hardships. Travels with me entail great privations. The harassment that I give is greater during my travels, and it is while traveling that my greatest work is done. At such times, those of the Mandali who are with me in the journey are really lucky. There is a secret purpose behind all this which you cannot comprehend. The universal work done on the inner planes was invisible and impossible to gauge on a physical level. For instance, a spiritual agent was appointed to look after affairs of an entire city. Communicating with this agent and instructing him regarding the population of the city, whether visibly or invisibly done, obviated the necessity of the master having to contact every person individually. Therefore, it was difficult to imagine the real purpose for Meher Baba's travels and his constant sudden changes of plans. To understand the work of the unlimited, one must become unlimited. Meher Baba's East-West Gathering. The purpose of this gathering is not to give discourses or messages. More than all messages and discourses, your love from me will bring you to me. I have come to remind all people that they should live on earth as children of one Father until my grace awakens them to the realization they are all one without a second, and that all divisions and conflicts and hatred are but a shadow play of their own ignorance. Baba says, you see me sitting here with you, but I am simultaneously on all the planes of consciousness. There are souls in the subtle world who want me, and I am there with them. And there are those in the mental world who want me, and I am there with them. One rare one who finds me as I really am is blessed. Baba observed that some 20 years before, he had remarked to the Mandali, "A day will come when you will want to approach me from far away, but won't be able to see me." This referred to the great crowds that would come in the future. Warning his Western lovers about cults and doctrines for achieving realization in 7 days, Baba remarked, "Talk of realization in 7 days is ludicrous. So long as the seeker does not become like dust under the feet of a perfect master, there is no solution to free himself from the net of ignorance. In the whole world, at any one time, there are only 5 Sadgurus, and so the seeker has to be very careful lest he becomes prey at the feet of a false Sadguru. In short, it is of the highest benefit for all to hold on to the Avatar's Dhamman. Even if you lose everything, hold fast to it. I am the Avatar of this age. Once you have my real darshan in your hearts, there is no need to come up on the stage for darshan. I want you all to love me as I should be loved, so one day you will have my real darshan. At this stage, you cannot know what real love is. But through working for me as you should work for me, you will arrive at that ripeness where in a moment I can give you that which you have been seeking for millions of years." Baba informed his lovers, "When you reach your homes, write one letter directly to me, only to me, then no more letters. Next year, I want to finish my universal work, so I do not want crowds of people coming to me. I am very happy that you are here. Your love has brought you here, but it is really Baba's love that has drawn you to me for this gathering. This love will make you experience one day only God exists, only God is real. God is absolutely independent. The only way to approach him is through love and through constant repetition of his name and invocation of his mercy. Mercy is God's nature. Bliss is God's original state. Power is God's existence. Knowledge is God's duty. God cannot be ignorant. It becomes his duty to be all-knowing. God knows everything. He is knowledge personified. Knowing the past, present, and future, knowing what has happened millions of years ago in the past, and what will happen in millions of years in the future, that is all knowledge. He cannot help but know everything. Knowledge is his duty. There is no time, only eternity. How can you grasp eternity? The one who has realized God realizes there is no such thing as time, space, or anything. There is nothing but God. God is all-knowing. He is all alone. He is one. But the infinite state of God gets lost in the infinite jumble of infinite contradictions. Then God, though all-knowing, asks, "Who am I?" through each one of you. That also is a contradiction. When he reaches the Christ state, he says, "Oh, I am God. It takes many, many births for anyone to arrive at this answer to the query of who am I? In between this final answer and the original question, there are infinite contradictions, many false answers such as, I am so-and-so, I am a man, I am a woman, I am big, I am small, I am rich, I am poor, I am white, I am colored, and so on. To know God and his infinite contradictions is to become conscious of his unconsciousness. This is his beyond state. Do you follow it, Harry? Baba asked. Erich interrupted. Baba says even he can't follow it. Everyone laughs. Explain it to me, Harry. Kenmore gives his interpretation, and Baba replied, if I were in your place, I would say, Baba, give me your love. I have nothing to do with all these contradictions, all this consciousness and unconsciousness, and consciousness of unconsciousness. I just want your grace, and that would settle all accounts in a flash. When, by the grace of a perfect master, one gets that experience of the infinite, for which one has gone through millions of births and deaths, it comes in a flash. A poet says to his master, I cannot understand all this. It goes in one ear and out the other. Why can't you give me a glimpse of your infinite state? Meher Baba explains, my nazar, my eye, is on everyone all the time. However, it does not fall upon just anyone. Once it falls on a person, he would instantaneously become infinite power, infinite knowledge, and infinite bliss. The East-West Gathering and the Journey Within. Baba explained that word of a big meeting like this gets around, and thugs and pickpockets are lured to town. Once a man had his arm around Erich's neck and tried to take rupees out of his shirt pocket. Erich caught him, but Baba made Erich give him the money. It is your fault, not his, he told Erich. Did you notice the boy with a red loincloth on the dais? He is called Balak Bhagwan, and in central India, people believe him to be an avatar. I told him not to accept homage, and that he had no authority to do so without first attaining God himself. Bhagwan has come to pay his respects to me. He loves me very much. There are so many saints of this type in India. There was a man, Krishnaji, claiming to be my chargeman. He asked for money from my lovers. He holds classes on spirituality, but does not himself know the path, its difficulties, love, surrender, let alone God realization. Very recently, he visited Canada and made innocent people believe he is a spiritual master. God is infinite. Therefore, his shadow is also infinite. Within his shadow is this infinite gross sphere, having millions of universes. There are innumerable gross universes, countless galaxies. You could not count them all. There are innumerable galaxies, known and unknown, countless stars, suns, moons, and there are some worlds inhabited by human beings. But of all these non-inhabitable and habitable worlds, this earth has a special position. It is the only place where the experience of the subtle and mental worlds can be had by human beings. Only on this earth can one realize God. Can one experience God's knowledge, God's power, God's bliss, but he cannot use that knowledge, power, or bliss for others, or for anything. One rare one experiences infinite knowledge, infinite power, and infinite bliss, and is also able to use it for every being in illusion. If you have the grace of the avatar, he just takes you from where you are to where you should be. Meher Baba and Mehera. Meher Baba's perfect female counterpart. Over the years, many times Baba referred to Mehera as the purest soul in the universe, and the one who loved him most. As Baba said, Mehera's unique position in his circle is the same as Sita's was to Lord Ram, or Radha's to Krishna, or as Mary Magdalene to Jesus. This role of being the chosen counterpart to the God-man amounts to the highest, purest, most spiritual relationship consisting of a divine love which the world cannot imagine. According to Baba's strict directives, Mehera was never allowed to be alone. Either Mani, Khorshid, or Masi was to be with her. If Mehera went to wash her face, if she went to eat, or out of the room on some errand or chore, another woman would accompany her. Even when she went to the bathroom, one of these three had to stand outside on guard. The difficulties of traveling through crowded railroad terminals and on buses while following all Baba's instructions can well be imagined. Only Mehera could put up with such a life, and this is why she is the beloved of the beloved. Her only thought was of pleasing Baba. Baba kept the women Mandali completely secluded, most of all for Mehera's sake. It was necessary to keep Mehera secluded for Baba's inner work with creation. Mehera was the queen of the garden, and her example of service to the beloved nourished the other saplings in the garden. A perfect master is omniscient and knows the past and future. Knowing Mehera's destiny, Upasni Maharaj could not allow her to go to Ahmednagar. Certain relatives had come with the intention of discussing their son's marriage to Mehera. She and her mother were called to Meherabad to meet Baba and discuss Mehera's marriage proposal. Baba asked Mehera if she wanted to be married, and Mehera replied demurely that she did not. And Baba was pleased. Mehera was already spoken for, and would soon join her divine Prince Charming. Mehera's love for me is 100%. It is not like others who love Baba. All these years she has been with me and has been as pure as anything. She has no lustful thoughts or desires, not even for her Lord Krishna, Baba. Nothing at all. Her sole purpose in life is to love me. Now, Meher Baba's mother's wish. Mirog, today on your birthday you are being worshipped as God on earth. Since I am your mother, I should also be respected. And I tell you now that there is only one thing left I want in this world. You must get married. How I wish that you get married and have children who will play on my lap." Baba silently laughed and then dictated in reply, "What you say is perfectly true, Mother. You are on a par with Mary, the mother of Jesus, and with Yashoda, the foster mother of Krishna. You must be respected, and you too will one day be worshipped, as it was through your womb that God has taken birth. As your son, I would never disobey you. Of course, I respect your wishes. I experience myself to be in all. God has made me realize that I alone exist and that all else is illusion. When a man goes to a cinema and watches a movie of a beautiful actress on the screen, can he marry her? No, because she is only a two-dimensional image on the screen. Likewise, I see you all on the screen of Maya. How then can I get married?" Mimo was sincere in her wish, and Baba's replied, "Meher, weep. My mother and the God state. Merwan becomes God-realized." One day in 1912, while Merwan was sitting outside his house, suddenly his inner sight opened. He saw the divine effulgence of God and immediately lost all bodily consciousness. Although his eyelids were open, he was merged in divine bliss. His mother was informed and came running, shaking him. She called, "Merog, Merog." His mother could only conclude that he must have had a dizzy spell. After that experience of the Nur state, the light of God, Merwan felt some powerful feeling that he was different from other men. Merwan was still veiled by the perfect masters from knowing his true greatness, but that was about to change. One terribly scorching day in May of 1913, as this 19-year-old youth was riding his bicycle on his way to Deccan College, something extraordinary happened. An old woman, Babajan, stood up with her arms spread wide, embraced Merwan with the fervor of a mother finding her long-lost child, tears streaming down her wrinkled face as she repeated, "My beloved son." From the moment of her embrace, he felt as if an electric current was passing through his body, sending impulses from his head to his toes. What he then experienced is indescribable. His individual consciousness was merging with the ocean of bliss. Although Merwan was dazzled by the effect of Babajan's embrace, he maintained some consciousness of his environment and walked home. Gradually, however, the young man lost all interest in his studies and became indifferent to participating in sports or games with his classmates. Merwan was no longer enthusiastic about anything in life. He appeared not to be able to concentrate on anything. From that day in May of 1913 onward, for the next 7 months, the only thing Merwan did regularly was to visit Babajan every evening. Turning to her followers, Babajan pointed at Meherwan and declared, "My beloved son will one day shake the world, and all of humanity will be benefited by him." Meherwan just stood there, for as soon as Babajan had kissed him, he became insensible. Mechanically, he began to retrace his steps back home. His dazed mind had no conception of his surroundings. His body was moving, but he was unaware of what he was doing or where he was going. Flooded with light, he felt as if millions of watts of electric current were speeding through his body, dissolving his flesh and bones. He had no body. His being now consisted of electricity. His body had transmuted into light. The veil that the five perfect masters had drawn over Meherwan had been torn away by Babajan's kiss. Meherwan was gone. He found himself being drowned and absorbed by the infinitude of God. He was given the infinite consciousness of being God, but in turn, he lost his awareness of time and space, of his body and mind, and of the world. Panic overwhelmed him. One cannot imagine how terrified he was. His experience cannot be grasped by the intellect. What he experienced was the vacuum of the nirvana of self-annihilation and the rising of the spiritual consciousness latent in each soul's infinite unconsciousness. The cause of Meherwan's terror was the total loss of his individual identity. He was crossing beyond his individuality and becoming universal. He was in the beyond. Suddenly, on the fourth day, Meherwan began to move. He had not slept for 3 nights, and his eyes looked vacant. He showed no appetite or thirst. His body simply moved about the house robotically, like a somnambulist. Dr. Barucha gave Meherwan an injection of morphine in an attempt to induce sleep. The narcotic had no effect, and the young man's eyes remained open. In the following 9 months, Meherwan lived without sleep. His eyes became glassy, and a vacant stare remained the fixed expression on his once animated face. If he sat, he would sit for hours without moving, seemingly staring into empty space. Meherwan lay on his bed, enraptured in an unspeakable ecstasy, the ineffable bliss of realizing himself to be God. All of his divine experiences were completely internal. There was no sound heard from him. No one in the family knew what had happened to him. "Merog, what has happened to you?" his mother asked. Anxiously, Mimo, his mother, was bewildered. She grabbed Meherwan and shook him, making him sit up in the bed. Examining him, she saw that he had neither fever nor any physical injury. "Merog, you will be all right," she said. Meherwan suddenly began singing a song in Persian with deep fervor. His singing was so beautiful that it captivated their attention. The sweetness of Meherwan's voice brought other guests out of their rooms. Everyone enjoyed Meherwan's singing so much that they requested that he sing another and another, and he continued singing guzzle after guzzle. Some were commonly known, while others were his own compositions composed extemporaneously. An elderly gentleman was so affected that he complimented Merwin as he patted him on the back. The glow on your face while you sang, and the guzzles you yourself composed to the glory of God, lead me to believe that someday you will be a great man whose name will be known throughout the world. And this, of course, is Hazrat Babajan. And she says, my shop is not located in any building or world. My shop consists only of Yazdan, God, or Merwan. And now, business. Baba's business. Saints are God's assets, and sinners are his liabilities. God, the infinite source of wisdom and justice, goes on eternally turning his liabilities into assets. Don Stevens was a well-paid executive of Standard Oil. Once thinking that he should pursue a more humanitarian line of work, such as being a doctor, teacher, or counselor, he contemplated giving up the oil business. He decided that the next time he came to India, he would tell Baba of his decision. Don reached the point of saying he felt it was time to do something else, when Baba cut him short. Who do you think put you in the oil business? He asked. Don was taken aback. The answer at once seemed obvious. Baba continued, I put you in the oil business because it is the environment which most satisfactorily brings up the sanskaras which you must work out in this particular life. I put you there. Now stay there. Baba's words had a great impact on Don and totally changed his attitude towards his profession. I looked forward to discovering what situations Baba might place in my way for me to work through. So he said. Baba inquired of Elcha, what are you doing? I said, Baba, there is some trouble. What is the trouble? They say that my salary is high and they can't afford to get rid of me. He said, is that so? You simply go on working and let them do whatever. I'll see to that. So again, every month or every second month, this question of my salary used to come up. Baba said, you go on with the work. Then one day I said to Baba, today I feel very much embarrassed and I want to chuck away this job, resign and go. He said, no, no, no. What are you going to do? Listen. Now when again this question comes up about reducing the salary, just tell them, I want 5 rupees more. Like this, Baba held up his hand with 5 fingers up. Then he asked me, will you tell them? I, without any hesitation, said, yes, I will speak. Why not? So again, after another month, I got up and said, once and for all, the reduction of salary is out of the question. I require 5 rupees more. Well, then the president of the company said, all right, please take a seat. In that meeting, I was almost about to chuck out of that job, but I had to obey Baba. So after the meeting, I came to Baba's place and reported about the incident. Are you telling the truth? I said, yes, I did this. All right, Very good. All right. Then they said my salaries were finished. After some time, I never reported what happened to Baba, because unless or until Baba asked, I will not say anything to Baba. I was absolutely carefree. About 15 or 20 days had passed without a job. So one fine morning, Baba inquires, what are you doing? I said, nothing. He said, what do you mean by nothing? I said, yes, my job is finished and now I am free. Free? You know everything. What have I to report to you? Here you are, a very shameless fellow. You are on my chest sitting. So Baba said, you never reported the incident? You are sitting on my chest. I said, Baba, you know everything. What should I report to you? All right, he said. Do you know anybody who can offer you a job? I said, only last week my old boss had come. He asked me if I was free to come and join the Secretary of State Federation. I said I cannot do so unless Baba orders me. So Baba said, you write a letter and tell him to reply to you immediately. I sent out the letter. I think that something I wrote will reach him the next day. In the afternoon, I get the telegram with my salary, and he says to join immediately. I went to Baba's place to hand over the telegram to read. I got the reply from my ex-boss appointing me to join at once. Baba immediately came out from his room and said, what are you waiting for? Now you just go away from my chest. You have been a burden on me, and you clear away. So he inquired as to what time is the train. I said about 7:30 for going out. Then hurry up. Less than 2 hours are there. Pack up your things and go. But immediately he says, I am leaving. So will you come a day or two and give me your company? I said, most willingly. Then the Mandali all said, Baba, how is this possible? He is just going today. Then you want him after hardly a week? He will have joined the job. Baba says, if it is possible, will you come? And if not, don't worry and be happy. I said, no, I will come, Baba. I inquired from my boss, can I go? He said, most willingly. He said, go. Well, I left, and I'm now with Baba for 3 days. This is films when Meher Baba went to Hollywood. This is what happened. Mary Pickford greeted Baba at the door of the mansion and led him to the spacious hall. Among those invited to the reception were Cecil B. DeMille, Cary Grant, Gary Cooper, Charles Farrell, Countess Denise de Faso. Mary had Baba sit on a sofa. She herself sat on the carpet by his feet. The others too sat down on the carpet around Baba, and the wine of love began speaking to all there. At Paramount Studios, he met stars Tallulah Bankhead, Charles Laughton, and Gary Cooper. Tallulah was particularly intrigued by Baba and his teachings. That evening, Baba held a public reception at the Knickerbocker Hotel. Over 1,000 people showed up to meet him. Douglas Fairbanks joined his wife near Baba, who conveyed to him, the whole universe whose structure I created is my cinema. But just as an audience becomes absorbed in witnessing a drama on the screen and engages their emotions and sways their feelings by its influence, causing them to forget that it's not real, in the same way, the spectators of the world are charmed by this worldly film show, forgetting themselves and thinking it to be real. So I have come to tell them that this worldly cinema in which they are absorbed is not real. I have come to turn their focus toward reality. Only God is real, and everything else is a mere motion picture. At Universal, he met cowboy Tom Mix. At Paramount, he met stars Tallulah Bankhead and Charles Lawton. On the fourth day in Hollywood, Baba visited MGM Studios, where he met actors Louis Stone, Virginia Beese, Greta Garbo, and Marlene Dietrich. At the dinner, Baba met John Gilbert, Boris Karloff, and Cecil B. DeMille. On the fifth day of Baba's visit, he went to Paramount Studios and met Maurice Chevalier and Jeanette MacDonald. Greta Garbo was supposed to be there, but had to bow out due to illness. On his final day in Hollywood, Baba had lunch at Beverly Hills' home of Oscar-winning actress Marie Dressler. Marie had a keen wit and humor, and Baba thoroughly enjoyed her company. Later he said, "Before breaking my silence, it is essential for me to proceed to China." In the 1960s, Pete Townsend of the band The Who became a follower and dedicated his rock album Tommy to Meher Baba. Bobby McFerrin's hit song Don't Worry, Be Happy was a quote from Baba in which he won a Grammy. Now back in Hollywood in 1932, Meher Baba's message to Hollywood. I was particularly glad to come to California because of the opportunity which it afforded to contact those who made or appeared in motion pictures. And I am delighted that this gathering could be arranged tonight. I do not need to tell you who are engaged in the production and distribution of motion pictures what a power you hold in your hands, nor do I doubt that you are fully alive to the responsibilities which the wielding of that power involves. He who stimulates the imagination of the masses can move them in any direction he chooses. And there is no more powerful an instrument for stimulating their imagination than motion pictures. We find ourselves in 1932 in a worldwide depression which affects everyone, rich and poor alike, and from which all are groping to blindly get deliverance. First, it must be understood that the depression is not an accident, nor is it purely the result of overproduction and inflation. These, although the immediate causes, are merely the instruments which were used to bring the depression about. The depression itself was caused by those entrusted with the evolution of humanity. Man has to be stripped of his material possessions in order that he may realize through actual experience that his true basis is spiritual and not material. Then he will be ready to receive the truth which I have come to bring. This truth consists of the knowledge that man, instead of being a limited, separate individual, completely bound by the illusion of time, space, and customs, is eternal in his nature and infinite in his resource. And that concludes my book, The Silent Master, Part 2. Meher Baba.